My niece, just 13, let out a laugh as she peeled the plastic off the brand new $850 phone I bought her. Mom says if you vanished tomorrow, nobody would even care, she said, still giggling. Everyone, 30 people packed into the house, laughed along. Everyone except me. I didn't argue. Just nodded once. Then, with 2 quick taps on my phone, I shut everything off. Every payment, every credit account, every subscription tied to me, gone in a heartbeat. That same night I left. No explanations, no goodbyes. I cut ties, vanished, and walked away with nothing but a black backpack slung over my shoulder. That was all I left behind. Inside that bag? Well, they'd find out soon enough. Earlier that evening, those words from my niece had cut deeper than she'd ever know. Her fingers were dainty as she unwrapped the phone, but her voice? Sharp as broken glass. We were crammed into the living room, 30 people talking over each other like they were trying to win a prize for being the loudest. A birthday cake sat untouched on the kitchen table, waiting for candles, but the only fire I could feel was the one burning in my chest. My sister, Lisa, didn't even glance up, just sat there glued to her phone, smirking like she just won a case against me in court. Mom was stirring something in a pot, acting like she hadn't heard what was said. But I saw her shoulders lift, barely, but it was enough. That little shrug told me she was fine with it. As for Dad? He didn't hide anything. He chuckled into his and muttered, "Well, she's not wrong." That lit up the room. Everyone laughed, cousins grinning, even Uncle Thomas, who only saw me on holidays, snorted into his drink. I stood there like an idiot. Just standing there. The guy who always came through, who paid the bills, who fixed the broken stuff. The one who never measured up no matter what. "Thanks for the phone, Uncle," my niece chirped, already snuggling up next to her mom, eyes locked on the glowing screen. I just watched her. My heartbeat was loud enough to drown out the noise, and my face felt like it was on fire. The walls closed in around me, but I didn't say a damn thing. Just nodded again. That's what I did. I nodded, I smiled, I played along, always pretending everything was fine. Eventually, Lisa looked up. Her eyes met mine. And in that split second I saw it, something smug, like she'd been waiting for this. Waiting to watch me shrink in silence, too embarrassed to speak. "All right, everyone, let's cut the cake." Mom's voice sliced through the moment, overly bright, like nothing had happened. But the aftertaste of that moment stuck in my mouth, thick and bitter. I made my way to the kitchen and leaned on the counter, watching as everyone gathered to sing. Candles were lit, wishes whispered, and still I stood there, fists clenched, jaw tight. And beneath all that pain? Something colder was beginning to form. I reached into my pocket and felt my phone. Just 2 taps. That's all it took. In seconds, everything I'd set up for them, credit lines, automatic bill pays, streaming accounts, it all disappeared. No more help. No more being their safety net. My fingers moved like they already knew the steps. Gone. Just like that. The voices around me faded into background noise. Familiar faces became strangers. They laughed, they clapped, they shared a moment, and I wasn't in it. I was just some ghost holding a wallet. But not anymore. I slipped out without a word. No one noticed. Of course they didn't. My niece had been right about that. I didn't go home. I went straight to my apartment, packed the basics into a small travel bag, and pulled out something I hadn't touched in years, an old black backpack, forgotten in the back of my closet. Tonight, though, it had a job to do. I filled it, not with clothes or gear. With something else. Something I knew would stick. Then I went back. The house was still alive with noise, nobody paying attention. I walked in quietly, made my way down the hallway, and left the backpack near the stairs. Then I was gone. For real this time. By the time they'd realize what I'd done, I'd already be long gone, just a shadow in their memories. Let them open it. Let them try to figure it out. The quiet didn't last long. Next morning, I woke to the sound of fists pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding, shaking the frame like it might splinter. No phone call, no text first. Open up! You think you can just pull this crap? Dad's voice. Loud and furious. I didn't move. Just sat there, calm, watching the door rattle like it was alive. I know you're in there. You think you're better than us? His voice cracked, not just from rage. There was fear in there too. Still, I said nothing. I wasn't going to play this game. Eventually the noise died down. I heard him storm off, footsteps heavy, a muffled curse, and then the slam of his car door. But that wasn't the end of it. Not even close. 20 minutes later my phone buzzed. One text from Mom. How could you do this to your own family? I didn't reply. An hour after that, Lisa tried calling. Her name lit up on my screen. I let it ring out. Then she called again. And again. 6 times in a row. Finally, a message. You think you're clever? You think we can't live without you? Fine. See how long you last without a family. I stared at the words and smiled. Was that supposed to scare me? Because honestly, it felt more like freedom. But the real storm? That showed up later. I just stepped out of the shower when I heard it, the sound of a key turning in my door. My blood froze. No one should have had a key. No one but. The door swung open, slamming into the wall. Dad barreled in, face red, sweat shining on his forehead. Mom followed close behind, her expression wild and panicked. You think you can lock me out? Dad roared. Get out, I said, drying my hair, my voice steady and cold. Get out? Mom shrieked. This is what you've become? Walking away from your family? We raised you. No, I said, calm as ever. You used me. That's not the same thing. Dad took a step closer, fists balled tight. Ungrateful little troublemaker, he growled. Go ahead. Try me. I didn't plan to speak, but the words came out anyway, clear, steady, like steel laid flat on a table. A challenge. His hand twitched, but he didn't swing. He never did. Deep down, we both understood, he wasn't built for fights. He was loud. A bully who puffed up his chest and shouted so no one would see how scared he really was. What did you do? Mom asked, her voice cracking. The cards don't work. Lisa can't pay her bills. The mortgage payments bounced. Everything's falling apart. I gave a nod. Exactly. Everything I handled, every account I covered, it's all shut off. That's done now. Dad let out a bitter laugh, dry and humorless. Oh, so now you think you've got all the power? You think we can't survive without you? Looks like you're struggling, I replied, glancing around my apartment. Considering you broke in just to throw a tantrum. Sounds like begging to me. Begging? He barked, his face flushed. You think we're begging? Enough. I cut in, my voice slicing through his rant like a knife. I said enough? I'm done. Mom reached toward me, hands open, eyes wet. Please. We're family. We're all we've got. No, I said, stepping back. You're all you've got. I'm finished being your crutch. Your bank. Your punching bag. Dad's face twisted, red with fury. You little pest. I raised a hand. Out. Now. You can't just throw us away, Mom whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. That's cruel. Cruel? I laughed, hollow and sharp. Cruel is telling your son he doesn't matter while spending his money behind his back. Cruel is using someone like they're a tool, then laughing about it over drinks. Dad moved forward again, but I didn't budge. This time, he hesitated, then stopped completely. His shoulders sagged. You'll regret this, he muttered. You'll come crawling back. No, I said. I won't. They left, slamming the door like a final threat. But I didn't fool myself. This wasn't over, not even close. The very next day, they switched tactics. Lisa showed up at my office. I spotted her through the glass wall, face pale, eyes red and puffy. She looked like she hadn't slept. My boss glanced at me, eyebrows drawn together, uncertain. Sir, there's a woman out front," he said quietly. "She's no one," I replied, not even turning my head. But she didn't leave. She stood there, trying to flag me down. I watched her hands start to shake, her voice rising as she pleaded with the receptionist. Security finally stepped in and walked her out. I knew she'd try again. They always did. That night, another knock came. This time, it was my landlord. "Hey, small situation," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "Your family's downstairs making a bit of a scene. I'm gonna have to ask you to tell them to leave, or we'll need to call the cops." "They're not my family," I said flatly. "Not anymore." I stood by the window and watched them, arms flailing, voices raised, creating a mess in the parking lot. Eventually, building security stepped in and escorted them off the property. But I knew better than to celebrate. I knew them. I knew exactly how relentless they could be. And back at that house, sitting in the quiet, there was still that old black backpack. Waiting. Like a loaded question they were afraid to answer. The silence didn't last. It never did with them. It was just a pause before the next wave hit. I ignored their calls. Dodged the texts. Let voicemails stack up. I didn't go to work for a few days, let the world blur while I soaked in the peace I'd never had under their roof. But I wasn't stupid. I knew they'd keep pushing. It started with Lisa's angry texts. Long rants filled with blame, full of poison and finger-pointing. Then came Mom, crying into the phone, leaving voicemail after voicemail. Her voice shook as she begged me to fix things. Said I was the bigger person. Said family was all we had. Then Dad chimed in. At first, it was the usual fire, screaming, swearing, trying to rattle me. But then his tone shifted. Calmer. Too calm. "Son," he said in a voice that tried to sound reasonable. "Let's settle this like men. Just you and me. No shouting. There's a game this weekend. Our team's playing. Come out. Let's talk it through." My gut twisted. It reeked of setup. But I said yes. I wanted to see where this was going. So I went. The moment I saw the empty seats around him, and that black backpack sitting tight in his lap, I knew exactly what was happening. They didn't want reconciliation. They wanted leverage. Control. But I wasn't the same guy who stood silent in that living room. Not anymore. The stadium pulsed with life, cheers, chanting, feet banging against metal. The kind of noise that drowns secrets and buries conversations. Perfect for a private war. He was in Section 12, Row F, seats around him strangely empty, even though the place was packed. He saw me immediately, lifted a hand to wave, the other still clutching my old backpack. My backpack. I walked down slow, step by step, locking eyes with him. His smile was smug. Like he'd already won. "Didn't expect you to show," he shouted over the crowd, patting the seat next to him. "Decided to finally talk man to man?" I sat, never breaking my gaze. "This about talking?" He leaned in, his tone dropping just above the roar of the crowd. "You thought you were so slick. Disappearing, cutting us off. But you forgot something." His fingers tapped on the backpack. "We found it. And guess what, genius? We know." "Know what?" I asked, cool as the breeze sweeping through the stadium. "Your secrets. Your little lies. You really thought you were some kind of hero? Pretending to be this perfect son, while you were hiding things from all of us." I almost laughed. "Then go ahead. Open it. Let's see what truth you think you found." Something flashed in his eyes, uncertainty, maybe fear. "Don't play games with me." "I'm not playing. If you're so sure, unzip it." "I don't need to," he said, his voice tightening. "I already know what you've been up to. You've been skimming. Stealing. Lying. You think you're better than us?" I leaned back against the cold bleachers, letting the weight of the moment settle. "There's no cash in there. No secret stash. Just the truth. Go ahead, find out. The home team scored. The stadium erupted. But between the two of us, there was only silence. That bag sat between his knees like a ticking bomb. You're bluffing, he said. Trying to rattle me. But this ends here. Great, I said. Then tell everyone. Go on. Let them hear your version. I nodded toward the field. Go ahead. Tell them all. Tell this whole crowd how I paid Lisa's rent for 2 straight years. How I covered your gambling debts after you blew half your pension chasing luck you never had. Tell them how I bought your precious granddaughter a brand new phone, just hours before she laughed in my face and called me nothing. His face went stone gray, jaw tight. Shut your mouth. No, I said, steady and sharp. Let's lay it all out, Dad. You're sitting there with a bag full of receipts, literal proof of everything I did for you. Everything you leached from me. And you still think you've got some kind of leverage? His hand clenched the backpack tighter, knuckles bone white. Don't you talk to me like that. Like what? I leaned forward, eyes locked on his. My voice stayed even, but inside I burned. Like the useless piece of furniture you always treated me as? Like the human ATM? The fixer? The errand boy who never said no? Shut up! He barked, standing suddenly, loud enough to make people in the rows behind us turn and stare. Sit down, I said, calm as frost. And for a split second I saw it, the flicker of fear in his eyes. Not fear of me. Fear of losing control. He let out a weak laugh, but it cracked halfway out. What are you gonna do? Hit your own father? You think anyone here's gonna side with you? I looked out over the sea of faces, most of them cheering for a game they were actually invested in. You think they care about your shouting? You're just some angry old man with a bag full of bills. They don't know me, but they don't have to. His face curled into something ugly. You arrogant little egoist? I offered, smirking. Sure. I was your lifeline, Dad. And now that I've cut the cord? You're sinking fast. That's when he snapped. His hand jerked toward my face, a wide, slow swing, more bark than bite. But I didn't move. I didn't even blink. He wanted a scene. He wanted me to explode. To lash out. To be the villain in the story he was already rehearsing. But I just stared at him. His fist froze, trembling inches from my cheek. I could see the sweat, the shame. I should have left you on the street, he muttered, his voice full of venom but shaking. You were always a parasite. Funny, I said softly, leaning in so close I could smell the stale beer on his breath. That's exactly what I always thought about you. And something broke. His hand dropped. His shoulders collapsed. The cheers of the crowd exploded around us like fireworks, the perfect background noise for the quiet death of his pride. I reached forward, took the backpack from his lap. He didn't resist. You want to know what's in here? I asked, louder now, loud enough for those nearby to hear. This bag's full of the truth. Every bill I paid. Every time I bailed you out. Every sacrifice you pretended not to notice. Heads turned. Whispers started. A few phones came out. You want to talk betrayal? I unzipped the backpack, pulled out a thick stack of paperwork. Here's betrayal. Right here. The day you decided I was your backup plan. Your safety net. Your damn ATM. His face went pale. I stood up, holding the stack high. You betrayed me when you turned your back while they laughed at me. When you said nothing while they tore me down. Stop, he whispered. He was shrinking now, folding in on himself. No. You wanted a scene? I tossed the papers at his feet. They scattered like dry leaves, tumbling down the metal steps. Then I turned and walked away, past the wide-eyed stares, past the hushed voices. Up the stairs and out of that lie we once called a family. You can't just leave, he yelled, voice cracking with something that sounded like desperation. But I didn't turn back. For the first time, his words didn't land. They just floated there, hollow and weightless. They didn't give up right away. Not my family. The day after that mess in the stadium, after Dad's ego bled out in public, my phone lit up like it was trying to catch fire. Calls, texts, voicemails. Some angry. Some begging. Some just noise. I didn't answer any of them. Dad was first to change tactics. His tone dropped from fury to fake sincerity in no time flat. "We can fix this," he said. "Let's talk. Forget what happened. We're family." I didn't bite. Then came Mom. Her messages were all guilt and tears. "You're breaking our hearts. We didn't mean to hurt you. Family is all we've got." I didn't even finish reading them. Lisa was next. She led with poison. "You're a coward. A selfish coward. You've destroyed everything." Then, not long after, "Please, just talk to me. I didn't mean it. I was scared. Don't do this." But I did. I did it without saying a word. My silence was louder than any revenge. And it cut deeper. They didn't get it at first. Thought it was just a game. Some kind of bluff. But as days turned into weeks, and the bills piled up, the ones I used to quietly pay, the truth started to sink in. They couldn't reach me. The landlord from their house called, stammering through his message. I haven't gotten rent. They said you always took care of that." "Not anymore," I told him, and hung up. Mom sent me a photo one night. The whole family sitting in a dark living room, a single candle on the table like some twisted vigil. Her message? "We have nothing left." I deleted it without a second thought. Then, one night on my walk back from the grocery store, I saw him. Dad. Standing outside my building, pacing like he hadn't slept in days. He looked thinner. Paler. His hands twitching, that fire in his eyes gone, replaced with something else. Panic. He spotted me and perked up, like hope had been dragged out of a grave. He hurried over. "Listen, you can't do this. I'm your father." "No," I said, not even slowing my step. "You were my wallet." He stepped in front of me, voice cracking. "We raised you. We gave you everything. You used me," I said, locking eyes with him. "And now you've got nothing." I tried to step past, but his hand shot out, gripping my arm tight. "You don't get to do this," he snarled. "You think you're better than us? You think you can just walk away?" "I know I can," I said, jerking my arm free. And I did. He swung at me. Slow. Weak. That's all it was. His swing barely connected, just a clumsy shove that glanced off my shoulder. I didn't even blink. He stumbled, caught himself against the brick wall, panting like he'd just run a mile. "Pathetic," I muttered, the word falling out of my mouth before I even realized I'd said it. His face twisted up in rage, that same old look I'd seen 1,000 times before. "You'll come crawling back," he spat. "You always do. You're nothing without us." That made me laugh. Loud. Hard. The kind of laugh that echoes off empty buildings and cracks the silence wide open. "No," I said, turning my back on him. "I was nothing with you." And I walked away. Never looked back. That night, I shoved my phone into the bottom drawer of my desk and left it there. Let the calls ring. Let the voicemails stack up. I didn't care. They couldn't reach me anymore, not really. About a week later, a letter showed up. Handwritten. The ink was shaky. Mom's handwriting. "Please. Your father's health is getting worse. Lisa's falling apart. We're unraveling. You're the only one who can fix this. Please come home." I didn't finish it. Just crumpled the paper and dropped it in the trash. They were falling apart. Good. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't. I didn't move. Didn't change my number. I didn't run. I just stopped playing their game. I stayed exactly where I was, but I stopped letting them be part of my life. And without me, their world cracked like glass. Lisa's friends disappeared. The people who once showed up for birthdays or holidays stopped answering her calls. The extended family, Mom's cousins, her Christmas card circle, they all faded into silence. Dad lost his job. Snapped at the wrong person one too many times. Burned his last bridge at work. And me? I didn't care. I didn't check in. I didn't watch from afar. I lived. I cooked my own meals. Slept without anxiety crawling up my spine. Took long walks without worrying that a single buzz in my pocket meant another crisis I was supposed to fix. Their voices became distant. Faded. Like echoes trapped in a burning house I'd already walked away from. And for once, I was free. The months passed, and silence became more than just the absence of noise. It became a friend. A comfort. I woke up when I felt like it. Ate slow, peaceful meals without anyone making me feel guilty for being okay. I explored the city I used to ignore. Found little coffee shops. Parks I never noticed before. Side streets full of stories. Sometimes, I'd catch myself expecting the old routine, a vibrating phone, a voicemail soaked in guilt, someone sobbing that I was the only one who could make it right. But it never came. They had finally stopped. And I had done what I thought was impossible. I buried them. Not in a grave. In my life. One crisp autumn morning, I was walking down Main Street. Leaves crunched underfoot. I passed by places I used to spend way too much money trying to keep everyone happy. The bakery where I bought Lisa's overpriced birthday cakes. The boutique where I picked out gifts for Mom. The fancy restaurant where I always picked up the check because, apparently, that's what I was good for. They weren't places anymore. They were ghosts. At the corner, a street musician played. Just a man and a guitar, nothing flashy. His voice was rough around the edges, but real. Honest. Not trying to impress anyone, just singing because it mattered to him. I stopped and listened. Let the melody wash over me. It wasn't a love song. It wasn't even sad. It was a song about letting go. The world spun around me, cars passing, people hurrying past, conversations overlapping, but I stood still. Just breathing. Just being. When the music ended, I reached into my wallet and dropped a 20 into the open guitar case. He looked up, nodded. I smiled back. Not because I had to. Not because it was expected. But because I wanted to. And that made all the difference. I didn't need them. I never had. I kept walking. Step by step, lighter with each one. No weight on my back. No fire in my chest. Just quiet. As the sun dropped below the rooftops, the sky turned to shades of gold and deep red. I stood there for a moment, watching it all. And I felt it. A soft, steady knowing. I was free.